If North and South Korea would have never separated, the United Korea as one country could have emerged as an economic powerhouse and could have been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. According to a research by Goldman Sachs, a United Korean economy could have even surpassed the economy of Germany, the United Kingdom, and France by 2050 and would have stood amongst the top economies in the Eastern Hemisphere. Also, the total land area of the unified Korea would have increased to a total of 223,155 square kilometers, giving access to the abundant and untapped resources. Also, the unified Korea would have significantly changed the way trade is executed using major shipping lanes and strategic passages in Pacific Asia. This map shows major ports in Eastern Asia, with China having a major dominance in the region. But the United Korea would have become a major competitor for China and Japan, controlling large portions of the Yellow Sea and the Sea of Japan if it had built major shipping ports all along its eastern and western coastline. North Korea, despite its poor economic state, totalitarian ideologies, and militarism, is surprisingly abundant in many natural resources like iron, coal, zinc, manganese, and even uranium that the country uses to develop nuclear weapons. And not just natural resources, out of the total population of over 26 million, around 4 million or 15.6% are laborers mostly involved in farming, mining, and serving in the military. Which means if Korea was one united country, South Korea would have got access to cheap labor and important natural resources which it lacks. On the other hand, South Korea, which is the 5th largest economy in Asia-Pacific and 12th largest economy in the world, is 40 times larger, standing at $1.7 trillion than North Korea, with its pathetic economy of just $28 billion in terms of GDP. If both the countries never separated, South Korea would have become a life-changer for people living in the current North Korea. These people would have got access to high-quality education, healthcare, and jobs in technologically driven, highly developed open economy. With a total combined population of over 76 million, the United Korea would have had a larger consumer market, adding significantly to consumer demands, energizing the production and capitalism in the country. If the two Koreas never separated, it would have actually become the land of everything, with northern regions providing raw materials like important metals, minerals, and mass labor, expanding manufacturing, consumer market, farming, and real estate. The South would have provided advanced technologies, research, and education. Today, South Korea has to either depend on the local labor force to run their service sectors or outsource significant part of their business due to shortage of labor. And North Korea, that has closed its borders with the rest of the world and operates in isolation, has literally nothing to offer and has zero access to outside help. And if the two never separated, the United Korea would just not be a land of everything for its local economy, but would have played an important role in managing sea trade. Maritime transport is the backbone of international trade and the global economy. Over 80% of the volume of international trade in goods is carried by sea, and the percentage is even higher for most developing countries. At the Korean peninsula, located at the 30th parallel north, which also formed the border between North and South Korea prior to the Korean War, is strategically important for international trade due to its proximity to major markets in East Asia and its location as a hub for trans-Pacific trade. If Korea was a unified country, it could have had the advantage of having a massive coastline on both of its eastern and western borders. The extended coastline of the United Korea would have allowed it to develop a stronger shipping and logistics industry. South Korea, which is home to some of the world's largest shipping companies, such as Hanjin Shipping and Hyundai Merchant Marine, with more than double the coastline, these companies would have built stronger logistic networks in the region, which would have facilitated the movement of goods between Korea and other countries, given a tough competition to countries like China. Secondly, the Korean peninsula, which is already strategically located for the trans-Pacific route between China and the United States, which are the two largest economies in the world, the United Korea would have secured its position to act as a hub for trade between these two economic giants. This is particularly important given the rise of China as a global economic power and the increasing importance of the Asia-Pacific region in international trade. But after the division of the two Koreas, the political instability due to the differences in two completely opposite ideologies has negatively impacted North and South Korea in varying degrees. And one major impact of North Korea on South Korea's economy is the cost of maintaining a large military presence along the border between the two countries. South Korea spends billions of dollars each year to maintain its military readiness, including the cost of deploying troops, building and maintaining infrastructure, and conducting military exercises. This is a significant drain on the South Korean economy as it limits the resources available for other areas of development. If the two Koreas were never separated, the defense expenditures would have been made to maintain a more effective national security and would not have drained the government's budget just to maintain internal peace. Also, Korea as one country would have had a better international image because of its political and ideological stability. This would have averted the risk of international businesses losing interest in investing in the country. It's because after the division, both the countries are always at the risk of conflict or instability. Any outbreak of hostilities between the two could have severe consequences for the South Korean economy, including disruption of trade and investment flows, damage to infrastructure and property, and loss of life. Even the mere threat of conflict can lead to market uncertainty and reduce investors' confidence in the region. Also, if Korea was one large unified country, it wouldn't have lost the opportunities to invest in businesses in different parts of the country. Today, due to international sanctions and restrictions, South Korean companies are largely banned from investing in North Korea. Also, it creates instability in stock markets due to the ongoing tensions between the two. In August 2017, when North Korea fired a missile that flew over northern parts of Japan, it quickly escalated the tensions in the entire Korean peninsula.
しなければならないことが改めて明らかになりました。
To continue to tighten those economic sanctions on North Korea.
This forced the Korean Composite Stock Price Index, which is the South Korean stock market, to react strongly, forcing the market to fall by a whole 1% in a single day as investors pulled their money as quickly as possible. And not just economic instabilities and risk of conflict, but human rights violation of North Korea is often considered to be the worst in the world and has been globally condemned, with the United Nations, the European Union, and groups such as Human Rights Watch all critical of the country's record. If Korea was a unified country, there is a large possibility that people in Korea, almost 100% who live in North Korea, would have never faced human rights abuse. The North Korean government, under the leadership of the Kim family dynasty, exercises strict control over all aspects of life in the country. It is known for its brutal political repression, including imprisonment, torture, and execution of prisoners and their families. The current conditions are so dire in North Korea that numerous testimonies of North Korean defectors confirm the practice of kin punishment, called the Yeonjuwaje, literally meaning association system, under which 3 generations of a political offender's family can be summarily imprisoned or executed. The government also operates a system of forced labor camps known as gulags, where prisoners are forced to work long hours under harsh conditions, where prisoners are often subject to physical and emotional abuse. However, it is highly likely that the human rights situation in a unified Korea would have been significantly better compared to the current situation in North Korea. A unified Korea would likely have had a more democratic structure than the current regime in North Korea and would likely be subject to greater scrutiny and accountability from the international community. In addition, a unified Korea would have had a greater access to resources and expertise to address human rights issues and promote economic and social development. Both North and South Korea may be two totally different countries with different ideologies, governments, and economies, but they have historically shared incredibly similar culture and traditions even to this day. But North and South Korea separated in the aftermath of World War II and the Korean War, which was fought from 1950 to 1953. At the end of World War II in 1945, Japan, which had occupied Korea for several decades, surrendered to the Allies. As part of the surrender, Korea was divided into 2 zones of occupation, with the Soviet Union occupying the north and the United States occupying the south. Then in 1948, separate governments were established in North and South Korea. The Soviet-backed government in the north established the Democratic People's Republic of Korea with Kim Il-sung as its leader, and the US-backed government in the south established the Republic of Korea with Chiang Man-rhee as its leader. The Soviet and the US-backed parts of Korea was indeed the reason for the start of the two countries going down totally different paths. North Korea's ideology was heavily influenced by Marxism-Leninism, which was the official ideology of the Soviet Union, which emphasized self-reliance and independence, particularly the idea of socialist patriotism. After the Korean War, North Korea closed its borders for the world, went into total isolation, and went ahead with self-reliance and even forced the South to do the same. However, US-backed South Korea did exactly the opposite. It opened its economy for foreign trade, believed strongly in Western ideologies of democracy, individualism, human rights, and free markets. And just within a span of few generations, South Korea became a developed economy from a poverty-stricken, underdeveloped country, which is also called the Miracle on the Han River. And it's been more than 75 years. Both the countries, despite sharing the same name and being born from the same land, tend to be in a complete contrast with each other. North Korea, in fact, tried to unify the Korean peninsula as one country with its military invasion of South Korea leading to the Korean War. However, South Korea pushed the North back to the DMZ. Since then, there has been a few political and non-military failed attempts to unite the two into one sovereign country. But given the stark and completely opposite ideologies of the two states, unifying the Korea is a near impossible national, international, and geopolitical challenge. Firstly, both the countries will have to settle on ideological fronts to run the united Korea. Democracy or communism, whichever way the unified countries go, can have a significant impact on its future and international relations. If it stays democratic, the increased size of the country may have a positive outcome. However, the country as a whole will suffer from slowed economic growth or even stagnation initially. It's because the floodgates will open and most of the North Koreans will travel south in search for better life and jobs. And it will be up to the South to effectively absorb such a surge in population, taking care of their health, housing, education, and job opportunities. And the South will also have to expand its urban planning, develop new cities and ports, open schools and businesses in the North to function properly. And all of this planning and execution will cost South Korea trillions of dollars, which will eventually slow or even stagnate the growth of the united Korea for at least a decade. And South Koreans have a mixed opinion about the unification of Korea. There are people above 30 years of age, 56% are in favor and 44% are against reunification. And the majority of young South Koreans are totally against the idea of reunification. Because after all, along with public opinions, there are certainly very complex political and economic challenges both the countries would have to deal with if reunification ever takes place. It's of course very hard to predict the exact outcome of reunification if it ever happens. But if both the nations had remained unified and had gone down the path of democracy, social welfare, and economic development, there is a high probability the united Korea would have emerged as one of the fastest-growing economies in the world. This is Stories Across, and thank you for watching.